Welcome back to the 6th lesson of this 3ds Max mini course. In this video we'll talk briefly about creating standard V-Ray lights in a scene and about creating and managing a standard 3ds Max camera. For this first part of lesson you'll need to have done lessons 1 and 2 of the 10 lessons of Start Correctly of the introductory V-Ray course. Here we are again with a familiar scene. For this lesson I deliberately deleted the lights and camera because we shortly are going to create them ourselves. Let's start by saying that this lesson is only intended to briefly touch on how to create and positioning the light and cameras in a scene, and that you can find all the details from lesson 3 onwards of the V-Ray introductory mini course available to anyone who has signed up for the next official workshop at vrayuniversity.com. That being said, let's look first of all at how to create a standard V-Ray light. In the Create tab, select the icon highlighted. Directly below, select V-Ray from the drop-down menu and finally select V-Ray light. We treat a V-Ray light just like any other object. Go to the top view and create it just as you would create a simple plane. Now the light is in the scene, but is obviously at the same height as the XY plane, so select the Move tool and lift it up. Now, using the Rotate tool, we rotate it so that the arrow is pointing toward the scene. Now let's try to simulate creating a V-Ray light close to an opening, a door for example, or a window. This will be very useful later on. I previously hit a wall with an entrance via a French window, which I've now made visible. So let's go to the left view so that we have this wall front on and create a light near the opening. We don't need to be overly precise, just try to occupy the whole breadth of the opening. You'll now find that the light is in the middle of the scene. Move it to the outside of the wall. Okay, as far as lights are concerned, that's all we need to know for now. Let's move on the camera. To create standard 3ds Max camera, we go to the Create tab and click on the icon shown. Then select Target. Again, from the top view, click and drag to tell the camera which direction it should point. Release and right-click with the mouse to finish off. To make life easier, let's filter the selection by choosing cameras from the drop-down menu. Now start to move the camera to lift it off the plane. The camera has a target which determines where it is pointed. By selecting it and moving it in the desired direction, we can set the framing. Now let's set our available viewports to show us what the camera is seeing. To do that, we are going to any one of the viewports and click on the second tag in the top left corner. Go to the cameras and then click on the name of the camera that appears in the drop-down menu. The view automatically changes to the framing of the camera. Let's change our display mode to get a more suitable output, and then we can also continue to set up the framing. The viewport allows us to see the result in real time. As in the perspective view, we can also use the navigation panel at the bottom right section or the interface for the camera viewport. If you select the camera viewport, the dolly allows us to go forward and backward. The orbit allows you to rotate the view in any direction. And finally, the truck allow you to move the camera and the target together, dragging them in any direction. You should note, however, that what you see in the camera viewport isn't exactly what you'll see in the render. To view the correct portion of the framing that will end up in the render, go back to the second tag of the viewport and click on Show Save Frame. Or more quickly, press the keyboard combination Shift F. This will ensure that in the camera viewport the framing is cropped to the exact proportion in which the render will be calculated, allowing us to see perfectly what to include and what not to include in the frame. The camera proportion can also be adjusted. To do this, we click on the Render Setup button found on the toolbar, which contains all the render settings. For now, let's not worry about the bulk of information it provides. This topic will be covered in depth both in the V-Ray introductory mini course and in the official course. Instead, let's focus on the area shown. Here we can interact with the height and width parameters to see the best kind of frame for our needs. Or we can also use the default resolution by clicking on the button on the side. That's all for this lesson. I'll see you next time for the last lesson of this preparatory 3ds Max course. Bye.